I talk to leaders in game development. That's what this podcast is for. My background is military and then game development, so I saw a wide range of cultures between those spaces. Um, what role do leaders play in creating and preventing toxicity?
The top team is everything with the culture. They're the ones who set the tone. They're the only ones in a company with access to all the levers that you would need for culture change, like work design or who to promote or who to fire. Um, Top leadership is the most important level of leadership to manage a culture by far. If they prioritize this and they know how to fix it, then the culture will succeed. If they do not prioritize it and or they don't know how to fix it, then the culture is going to fail. You can't overstate the importance of top leadership. And other levels of leadership matter too, of course, but even those are going to be largely determined. Those social norms and cultural behaviors are going to be largely determined by the example that they see from the top team, and things like what is rewarded by promotion, what's rewarded by compensation. That ultimately the top team is the only ones who are able to control. So really, if you want to change a culture, you only need two things. You need top team prioritization. It has to happen at the very top. And you need knowledge about how to actually improve the culture, which comes back to kind of high quality data and using more sophisticated cultural measurement. But if you don't have top team prioritization, the culture is going to be average at best, and that's the state of culture. That's what you see in the vast majority of companies. Most top teams do not really prioritize this, and as a result, the state of culture is pretty dire. If you look at Glassdoor, which again is not a negatively biased platform, the average employee on Glassdoor is rating their culture 3.5 stars out of 5, right? Which is kind of pathetic. And a big reason for this, probably the biggest driver, even more so than lack of effective measurement, is because leaders are simply not prioritizing this at the top.
I'm reminded of a book. Are you familiar with Patrick Lencioni? He did
Uh,
Five Dysfunctions of a Team and some of those other books. He wrote a book called The Advantage. And The Advantage, he talked about the heart and the science side of organizations. And he kind of said a lot of leaders spend a lot of time focusing on the science side of organization. And he defines the science side as all this stuff. As you said this earlier, kind of the CFO has this very tangible thing that's easy to measure. And they end up very powerful in large organizations because it's very obvious what's going on with the thing that they control. Like
mhm.
dollars are moving and the bank account is going up or down and the money's going out in various directions or whatever. There's a lot of things that are kind of like that, be a people moving or how many teams do we have or whatever. There's the stuff you can measure very easily. And then he described another half of business, which is the heart side, and culture lives on the heart side. He was sort of saying, look, it's really difficult to measure this side. And so leaders don't focus there because they don't know how to measure it. They don't know how to understand it. But his experience was that leaders that focused on the heart side of the organization tended to get more mileage long term than those who just focused on number crunching, all the things that were obvious. And as you're talking about it, I appreciate that you're kind of saying, look, you can take some of these things that are so difficult to measure, and maybe we can actually measure them. Maybe we can actually get some good data out of this and allow us to make good decisions as senior leaders. I think also just that idea of, I think a lot of people want to be able to transform them from the ground up. And my experience has been largely that if the top leadership of an organization, the most senior leadership of an organization is not on board, it doesn't matter how much of a grassroots movement you attempt to create, it's not going to prevail in the end. Like the likelihood is so small because, like you said, they don't have the ability to fire or make adjustments or like shift things, that they don't have the right levers. They're just fighting. They're fighting uphill the whole way as they do that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I often, people ask me, I'm in a toxic culture. I'm a mid-level employee. What can I do to change the toxic culture? And the reality is trying to change the toxic culture from the bottom is like trying to change democracy in the Soviet Union. I mean, maybe there are some things you can do, like a little bit that on the margin will have some help. You can treat people well. That's always a good idea. But the reality is that the people with the power and the access to all of the levers needed to actually change this are at the very top. The most, we did a big study synthesizing over 1,000 scholarly articles about about toxic culture and what drives it, and the biggest thing by far is top leadership. I mean, if you just don't have that, you can't change it. And I mean, culture is an art and a science, and it always will be. But right now, it's just way too much on the art side, or not even art, because it's not even good art. It's just a lot of nonsense. So what we're trying to do is to bring it a lot more into the science side and to inject some evidence and credibility to this field.